It is the week before the Super Bowl, and if you're smart, you'll do your work early this week before the inevitable pork rind and chicken wing induced coma. Hey everybody, this is CIT 12. It is week 4, and I've got 3 important things to tell you about before we get into what you're actually going to be doing this week. The first thing is that you need to purchase my IT lab. Now, I said that you'd have to have it purchased by the end of week 3, and the vast majority of you have. But there's still a few people in each of the courses who haven't done this yet. The department has extended the deadline to the end of week 4, which means this upcoming Sunday. If you do not purchase my IT lab, if you don't upgrade your account from a trial account to a full account, by this Sunday, you're not going to be able to, and I will have to drop you from the class because there is no way you can pass this class without my IT lab. By this Sunday, you need to have that done. So that first announcement was a little harsh and depressing. So let's go on to something a little bit more entertaining and exciting. I've had a request from a couple different students that they would like to have the ability to continue to practice these things that we're learning in the labs even after the labs have disappeared. This is something I've done in past classes, but it kind of gets confusing because people will see the labs and they also see the trainings. And so I'm making it as clear as possible, but giving people access to these practice trainings. So you'll see a folder that says practice trainings, not graded, all caps. You are not required to do these. These will not affect your grade at all. And if you do them, they are not a substitute for the labs, although they are very similar to the labs. The advantage of this is that right before a practical exam, you could go back and practice all of the labs, even the ones that have disappeared, so that you know what you're doing. Or if as you're doing the practical exam, you might want to go back and just hone up on a couple skills, and then you can totally do that. Plus, you'll have access to this course long after the course is actually done. And so that means you can go into my IT lab and still be able to practice these skills if you want to. I mean, if you paid for my IT lab, you might as well get the full advantage of it. So those will be in my IT lab. They're in a folder called Practice Trainings. They're there for all of the programs that we're going to cover, Windows, Excel, Word, and PowerPoint. They're all available right now. You don't have to do them. You're not going to be graded for them, and they are not a substitution for the lab. They are not graded. Make sure you do your labs. But they're there for you in case you want them. And the last special announcement for this week, it's kind of a small one, but some people were saying, hey, you know, I do my discussions the week after. It'd be kind of nice to be able to go back and look at your weekly update video for the previous week, because they usually disappear from the announcements page. And so I get that, that makes sense. You've always been able to do it. If you just click on YouTube and actually watch the video on YouTube, you can see all my other videos on that channel. But it's kind of convenient to have them there in Blackboard. So I'm just making it so the new videos for each week will always appear at the top for whatever the new weekly update is, but you'll still be able to see all the old ones. And that's already there, so you can see all the old update videos for each of the previous weeks. If that helps, I'm glad. If not, just ignore the old ones. And finally, we get to talk about what it is I want you to do this week. So this week, we are looking at Chapter 3. Chapter 3 is all about the internet. There is a ton of information about the internet. It is a fascinating topic at times, and it's something that has affected all of your lives probably. So take a look at that chapter. My lecture video talks a little bit about the history of the internet, including why the first word ever sent across the internet was low, and also how does the internet work. We talk a little bit about DNS and some stuff that probably you didn't know about the internet beforehand, as well as some best practices for using the internet, because the internet is a public place where very public things happen, and it is a terrible place to keep secrets and to keep private anything. Anyway, take a look at the lecture video for this week. It's all about the internet, and then we've got a quiz on Chapter 3, as usual. Your discussion this week should actually be fairly practical. There's a tool that I want you to use online called Wolfram Alpha. You guys have all probably used search engines in the past. You've used like Google or Yahoo maybe, or Bing, probably Google. But Wolfram Alpha is a tool that calls itself a computational knowledge engine. In other words, it's not a search engine. Normally, if you use something like Google, you type in some words, and Google will return all of the web pages it's found that use those words. And it sets them up in an order. You can check out the lecture video for more information on that. But Wolfram Alpha is a little bit different. It doesn't go out and find web pages. It goes out and it finds knowledge, just facts, random things, bits of information. And then when you search it, you're not actually searching for web pages. You're searching just for that information. So you can actually say, like, what is the population of Buenos Aires? And it will just give you the answer, the number of people who live currently in Buenos Aires. You can say, I want to compare the population of Fresno to the population of Clovis. It will just give you that information. You can find the unemployment rate for Fresno. You can find all sorts of information. There's a couple videos in the week 4 folder where the actual guy who created Wolfram Alpha kind of walks you through stuff. It has a ton of information. If you want to say who won Best Supporting Actress in 1982, it'll tell you. If you want to say how many calories are in an average cheeseburger, it will tell you, along with all the other nutritional information. And one of the demos I usually do is, what is 2 plus 2? It will not only tell you that the answer is 4, it will tell you the average time it takes somebody to come up with the answer 4, depending on their age. There's a ton of information Wolfram Alpha will give you, and it works a little bit differently because it just gives you the answer. Now, Wolfram is a company that has specialized in mathematics software. In fact, if you take calculus at Fresno State, you're going to be using a Wolfram product in order to learn calculus. But that sort of foundation in math actually makes Wolfram Alpha a great graphing calculator. Free of charge. Instead of spending $85, $95, whatever the heck it costs for a graphing calculator at this point, you could just put the exact same thing into Wolfram Alpha, get the exact same graph, and probably a lot more information, and it's free to use. So anyway, and by the way, if you ever ask Siri what the population of Buenos Aires is, Siri gives you the answer from Wolfram Alpha. So point being, it's a great way to sort of a great different type of tool. Maybe something you could find a use for in either your work, school, personal life, whatever. So take a look at it, play around with it, do some questions of your own. They've got suggestions, so you can sort of play around with the suggested questions that they'd like you to ask or think that you might find interesting to ask. If you're into something specific, like if you're in a nursing program, you type in a medication, you will get a ton of information about that medication. If you type in a chemical from a chemistry class, it will give you a ton of information about that chemical. It's useful for a whole lot of things. So check it out, discuss it, and hopefully you find some use for it. And I cannot forget to tell you that yes, you can use Wolfram Alpha to cheat on your math homework because it gives a lot more information than a graphing calculator, and you shouldn't do that because you need to actually know math. Finally, your lab for the week is Word Lab 2 from my IT lab. Just go in there, you'll find it. Word Lab 2 focuses a lot on it has a whole bunch of skills, but it's going to focus sort of around 2 central concepts. One are tables. So putting together tables that could display data, they could display all sorts of things, but also are used a lot of times to format a document. Resumes are often sort of broken out into tables with information in each of the boxes. And you may even make it so that you don't normally see the lines of the table, right? The table is there, it's formatting stuff, you just don't see the borders between. And so the lab will show you all how to do that, how to format tables, both for data as well as just for page layout. So tables, big topic in this week's lab, as well as templates. Templates are just essentially Word documents that have been created by somebody else. They look nice, they're sort of formatted correctly, and you get to just go in and put your information in, and boom, you've got yourself a nice looking document with your information in it. Also, you could create templates, and the lab will show you how to do that. So tables and templates this week in my IT lab. And that's it. Fairly standard week for us. You've got some reading, you've got a lecture video, you've got a quiz, you've got your My IT lab, and you've got a discussion on Wolfram Alpha that hopefully you find somewhat practical. All right. If you have any questions, feel free to email me, brian.baker@fresnocitycollege.edu, and I will see you online.